it is Random Palk, and today we're reviewing and possibly playing Final Fantasy Legend 2 on the Game Boy. Now, Final Fantasy Legend is a game series strictly for the Game Boy that was taking off the popularity of the Final Fantasy series. But there is some major differences between the two, and even though most people think about Final Fantasy Legend 3, because that was probably the best one of the series, Final Fantasy Legend 2 is a bit different. You get to pick your whole team for one thing, where Final Fantasy Legend 3 is where you got to use all story characters that were always good. Here you get to decide on your hero and your entire party. And the humans, mutants, and monsters act differently in Final Fantasy Legend 2 than they do in Final Fantasy Legend 3. I prefer to, on this game, have a team of 2 mutants, which is pretty much the standard on Part 3. Is having a 2 mutant team, which I believe is probably the best way to do it. But I'm making the leader a mutant for the fact that the leader is always slightly stronger than the other base characters. So whenever you make your leader, is always going to be more powerful than whatever you make your other teammates, which is a good way to make sure your leader. Now, monsters, I've learned that most of the time monsters in these Final Fantasy Legend / Saga games, the monsters, they can be useful, but most of the time they're not that great. Even when you get the best monster like the Gingrayu or whatever it is, yeah, they're good, but there are better things to do than monsters, so I rarely pick up monsters. But anyway, the majority of the game is trying to find the 77 pieces of Magi and fight the gods. If I remember correctly, the final boss is Apollo. I might be misremembering that. It's been so long since I beat this game. But yeah, you start with the prism, which tells you how many pieces of magic are left in the world. And here's where you get to make your team. Now I suggest making a human, because humans could hold the most items. And I'm thinking about part 1. Yeah, Legend 1. But humans can hold the most items, and they can equip the best gear. But as I said, I prefer to have a multiple mutant team, because it makes it so much easier at the start. And if you have 2 mutants, mostly I would say get another human, because humans are pretty well rounded and good. But for the sake of this game, I'm going to pick a robot, because robots are also fairly decent. The only problem with robots is it takes a while to get upgrades. Mainly their weaponry, their guns and shit. But I'm avoiding picking a monster, because monsters can be badass, but you have to be very careful, and there's a lot of randomness involved. So we're going to just make a robot for the final member, because fucking why not? Just for variety, so rob the robot. And now we're in the first little... There's nothing to find in this first town area. All you do is gather information, so there's no point in even exploring it. Unless you just want to hear all the NPCs say stuff. Fight immediately. Now the reason why you want to have mutants is because they're really good at magic, but also they have specialty mutant skills that they can evolve and learn through leveling. Now, in the original Final Fantasy Adventures, in the original Final Fantasy Legend 1, mutants were the only ones that could gain stats and levels pretty much through random combat. The humans, you had to fucking level up through buying items, kind of like the robots in the later versions. And the monsters always had the transform ability, so the monsters, you always had to do the transformations. But yeah, they changed up the rules as the Final Fantasy Legends progressed. They changed up the rules quite a bit. But, that was bad. Mr. S does not stay with you, so it doesn't matter. What? I cured her! Oh, Sarah died. Alright, I was about to say I cured her. Anyway, when you die in this game, you're not permanently dead, obviously. So you don't have to worry if a person dies in combat, but it still sucks because they don't get the ability and possibility. Yeah, if you hit that button, it always gives you what your objective is, so you don't have to worry about being lost on your objective. But you notice the graphics and everything, the music, graphics, everything about this game is literally identical to Legends 3, because Legends 3 was just a better version, but this game is still good in its own rights, and it is very challenging. Yeah, I don't know why that one fight went so badly, but anyway, we're fixing that. And yeah, the fights are very quick in this game, so you don't have to worry too much about long delays, because the fights are fairly fast in this game. So even at the moments where you have to do some building up, you don't have to wait that long, because the fights are actually fairly quick. Yeah, one reason why I think you should have 2 mutants at the start is because of their specialty abilities. The female mutants always have the flame attack, and the male mutants always start with blizzard. But certain enemies are weak against fire, and certain are weak against ice, so it's really good to have one of each, just to make the starting areas early easier, because once you get to the first dungeon, you'll realize how difficult shit can become pretty quickly. The first baby worm is strong against fire, so we'll just use blizzard. And dissolve works too. See, you can't make the first guy eat the meat. And eating monster meat, if you don't have a monster, is pointless. So eating monster meat when you don't have a monster is kind of pointless, so you're better off disregarding it. But monster meat is how they restore their abilities, and how monsters transform into more powerful versions. Yeah, if you take the time to use the prism... Oh wait, you gotta go to Magi. If you take the time to use the prism, it'll tell you how many magi are left in the world you're currently in. As you can see, there are 6. So yeah, you gotta use the magi when you're kind of lost. And you can always talk around in town to find out information, like Ashura's looking for the magi. Ashura made his base in the North Valley, you know, gather information you may need, which on this game is very helpful to gather the information. Yeah, rest to restore your magic mainly, because there are ways to restore your health without resting. But if you're trying to restore your magic for your other ones, now, I don't really keep those shields around, so I always sell those, but you might be better off keeping them. Here's where we can buy some gear for your human. But other people can equip it too, it just takes away spots. But once you get... Okay, I'd buy a couple of cures at this point, because you don't have any healing magic at this point, and then you want to equip everyone with the shit you just bought. Yeah, to improve your... Now, like I said, the main thing about the humans is the humans have way more slots to carry stuff. So the humans are good for storage space and item usage. Same kind of with the robots. But yeah, humans are really good at carrying items and storage space, because they have like double the slots they can hold. Anyway, there's nothing really for weaponry to buy in the first town unless you want to build up for some psi knives, which are very useful for the mutants. But after you buy the starting gear, you want to move on to the next area, which is the shrine. And now you're on your own. So now you have no slime guy to help you out. And once again, eating the meat is meaningless if you don't have a monster. Now, the encounter rate in this game is very high. So don't be surprised if you fucking get encounters right after each other, because the encounter rate in this game is very high. I acquired ice, so I just got a new skill. Let me get to the temple. I know it seems like your guys are incredibly weak at the start, but once we start getting the pieces of magi, the guys will get much stronger relatively quick. But first we want to talk to Key, the main priest of this temple, because she'll restore you. And she gives you the info about the southern forest, which is very helpful. That's one thing I do have to give about Final Fantasy Legend 2, is they give you a lot more information than the first one. The first one you had to go through the floors of that ascending tower, but they didn't really give you a whole lot of information. But in this one they give you a little bit more clues on where to go. The reason why we bought some cures is because we're about to be in the first dungeon. Oh yeah, we want to move the ability up so we can see where that is. But yeah, I thought I bought more cures. Who has the other cures? I thought I bought more cures. Could have swore I bought more cures. Well, that's troublesome. But anyway, back to the fact that we're entering the first dungeon. Now the first dungeon is fairly difficult because of how weak you are when you first get to... God damn it, encounter rate. But yeah, the first dungeon is fairly difficult considering your strengths when you first get there. Unless you go to the Northern Cottage and build up for all the gear there, you're going to be pretty weak when you go into the first dungeon. But the first dungeon, as you got the clues for, it goes 3 over here and then goes straight down, and there you go. We're in the first dungeon. And this dungeon is where you get the first pieces of magi that you would get, and they're incredibly good to equip. They're incredibly valuable. Now if you notice, yeah, the robot starts with a really limited attack weapon, but also you saw how powerful it was. The robot is incredibly powerful if you can deal with the fact that their weaponry is very limited at the start. But once again, you notice the graphics are 100% Final Fantasy Legends 3. But the music and stuff in this game, for Game Boy, the graphics, music, and everything about this game are incredibly good for Game Boy. So I cannot complain about any of it. The game itself is incredibly good, and I understand why it had so many, fans back in the day, and why they made a part 3. Especially considering how part 1 was kind of lame. The first Final Fantasy Legend was actually kind of weird, but also fucked up. But once you get used to it, it's not horrible. But it's hard to believe that that first one spawned so many sequels. But I'm glad it did, because if you're not a fan of Final Fantasy Legends, you'll still like Final Fantasy Legends 3. Final Fantasy Legends 3 is definitely the best one, and probably the one most people have played. Because it's the one that plays like an actual Final Fantasy RPG. Where this one has some inconsistencies in it, and the way they do the gear, where you have consumable gear and other shit like that. I can understand why this may not have been as popular as what it was. But Final Fantasy Legends 3 was definitely a step up in the series. And that's the one I was going to play, but I thought Final Fantasy Legends 3 may have been played out enough, so I decided to do part 2, the lesser known one, that probably the majority of y'all have never even heard of, or if you heard of it, you probably never played it. Yeah, we wanted to go this way to get the treasure chest, which is a free cure since we didn't buy enough cures. Now we gotta go all the way back around the other way. But yeah, we had to go that way to get those cures because we didn't buy enough. Because I thought I bought some, but apparently I didn't. So now we gotta go all the way. God damn it. You're gonna burn up all my attack abilities just fighting these regular fights before we get to the boss's part. Yeah, like I said, the encounter rate is very high in this game. Luckily, we're getting easy fights, but the encounter rate is very high. But yeah, eating the meat does nothing if you don't have a monster, so there's no point in eating the meat unless you have a monster. Oh damn it, quit making me fight with lizards. Actually, I don't mind that because they're quick and easy fights. Yeah, that's why I thought ice, unlike flame, only hits one enemy and flame hits all enemies. Now there is one game I really wanted to do later on that I didn't think would be very popular, but I wanted to do it just because it's a game that I really like that most people may not have even give a shit about. This Phantasy Star 3 for the Sega. I've done a complete playthrough of Phantasy Star 4, so you can check those videos out. But Phantasy Star 3, I think, is a very unappreciated series. You know, unappreciated game of the series. I think people should like Phantasy Star 3 more than they do. But that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, we're getting to the end of this dungeon. Now, Legend 3, you can jump. But in this version, there is no jump option. Anyway, here we're about to get our first pieces of Magi, which you'll see how valuable they are once we get them. Yeah, power, speed, and Magi, or mana. Once you get those, you want to go to Magi and equip. And once you equip them, mana raises your magical damage. So make sure one of the mutants has that. Power raises your physical attack power. So either give that to the robot or the human, because that'll make them far more powerful. And then speed is very effective because it allows them a closer chance to attacking first. So I'm going to give that to Mac for now because he's the guy that has the ice magic. And a lot of the enemies right now are weak against ice. But you can change up that shit as you will once you get Magi. It'll greatly improve your characters by equipping the Magi, and you can switch them out as you get more pieces. But anyway, now we have to pursue these assholes and find out they've been defeated. That one's dead. Once you pursue them... no. That was stupid. Head back to that temple you were at previously. And you notice the damage increased by equipping that Magi for mana. So yeah, it increases your attack power greatly. I found the punch, but I don't need a punch. If I need anything, I need a better weapon than the rapier, which I could have bought a long sword, but I didn't. Anyway, after doing that dungeon, we talked to old Key here. And after she heals you, she'll tell you, you'll have the discussion about Ashura's men taking the Magi, and she'll join you. Now, when she joins you, you gotta be careful because she has consumable items like the Cure book. Well, we're about to get to the point where we need to fucking build up a bit because this next little area right here, there's a lot of valuable items to build up for, and as I said, you can talk to fucking guys to get information. And you want to sleep at the end to restore your magic abilities. Not so much your HP, you can restore that other ways, but your magic abilities. But here, there's a lot of stuff to buy here. There's ice books, tip patats. The SMG, if you're using a robot, is very valuable at this point. The Sunder book. The rocket launcher. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to buy in this game at this point. And it really sucks to sell some of these consumable weapons because you might need them and they don't really sell for much. So I wouldn't really... You're better off just building up and sleeping in the inn. Because that's not the only shop. Because here in the item shop, there's all these status items, cures, X-cures, and there's even the cure spell book that's very valuable. And elixirs. I mean, there's so much shit that you need to buy in this little area right here that you're pretty much guaranteed to have to build up for a while. But if I continue playing this game, I'm going to spare you all the building up. So we're probably about to end this video. But yeah, Final Fantasy Legend 2 is an incredibly good game of the series and definitely fun and challenging on its own note. I know most of y'all probably only heard or care about Final Fantasy Legend 3, which is a lot more traditional and completely different. But Legend 2 is a really good game. So is Legend 1, but it's up to y'all to check it out. But I would recommend them if you're an RPG fan, because they're definitely classic and worth playing. But unfortunately, I'm out of time. I'm going to have to end this episode here, but I may continue playing this game. I haven't quite decided yet, because now I'm thinking about Legends 3, because, hell, Legends 3 is the better one. But this game is still worth mentioning and definitely worth checking out. Anyway, follow, subscribe, I greatly appreciate it. And also, don't forget to hit the like button. I know most people don't do that, but please hit the like button if you can. But anyway, I'm going to end this here. I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully y'all have a good day. I'll see you next time. Take it easy.